Welcome to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis. The Elimination Chamber is this weekend, but did Triple H already make a grave mistake? Plus, two major free agents could be on the way to WWE. Is this the wise decision? An entire Elimination Chamber preview next on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast, and if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you are seeing my beautiful face, as well as a honorary Oos hoodie. If you're listening on Tobacco Road Sports Radio as part of the Wrestling Wednesday lineup, we appreciate you. Go follow the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel as well, and get the subscribers up. You're not going to want to miss a thing. I also have a sports talk radio show Friday afternoons, Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. We had a Locked On Chiefs podcast member on the show last week, and it was a great time. Go back and watch that video and tune in for the Super Bowl recap, obviously, this Friday. But what we have is the Elimination Chamber. I have my phone right here with me, so I'm not going to miss any breaking news that happens. I have a water with me because I'll need that for sure. And let's get right into it because it's a really exciting time in the world of professional wrestling, or what WWE likes to call sports entertainment. We got a little hair for my YouTube video viewers to see. Yep, we're just going to leave it because it makes me look like alfalfa. But kind of what I look like is Cameron Grimes, I've been told. But, I'm starting to get a little Sami Zayn look. And I will take that as a compliment. Or as a matter of fact, Sami Zayn would take that as a compliment. But he doesn't need a compliment right now because he is challenging the tribal chief, the head of the table, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, this weekend, this Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber in Sami's hometown, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This was not supposed to happen. This match was not supposed to happen. As a matter of fact, you look ahead to WrestleMania, assuming that Roman Reigns wins this Saturday Elimination Chamber, would be going up against the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble winner at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes, who was also not supposed to be here at one time. And I want to break this down because I think it is really important. You look back at WrestleManias in the past, and you've seen the likes of Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg. Going back a few more years, you got John Cena, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Edge, Batista. You have all these guys. And you even have the Big Show. You have all these guys, and you're like, yep, they all needed to be there. They all deserve to be there. There's no doubt in your mind that, that's a WrestleMania main event. But there was a time where Cody Rhodes was not supposed to be the main event. I mean, he came in as a second-generation superstar, son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. But yet he was just a guy, and then he was dashing, and then he was undashing, and then he was Stardust, which kind of a mimic of his brother, Goldust. And then he was gone. He went away, reinvented himself, and started their rival company, started the second biggest wrestling company in the United States, in the Western hemisphere of the earth. And Cody Rhodes was not supposed to come back to WWE. He was supposed to do his own thing. And sure enough, Cody Rhodes comes back at last year's WrestleMania, defeats Seth Rollins, ends up winning a trilogy, ends up tearing his pectoral muscle before a Hell in a Cell match. Yeah, I said before, not in the ring. He tore it in the gym, and Cody wrestles the entire Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins with a torn pectoral muscle. And then he's gone. He's gone for 9 months. Meanwhile, the Bloodline becomes, and is still today, the hottest wrestling storyline we have had in years. I almost think back to Daniel Bryan, how over he was late 2013, early 2014, and ended up rewriting WrestleMania. Now, last 9 months, Sami Zayn gets inserted into the Bloodline, really inserts himself in the Bloodline, is only supposed to be there a few weeks, maybe. And sure enough, Sami Zayn is the guy who stuck around for 9 months, became the most popular superstar in the Bloodline, gets his own merchandise as a member of the Bloodline, and has created at least 3 big moments of the WWE year. You got him getting the honorary Oos t-shirt. Boom, merchandise pops. You got the War Games. He turns on Kevin Owens inside War Games, the first ever War Games pay-per-view on the main roster, and wins it for the Bloodline. You got Sami Zayn actually turning on the Bloodline, smashing Roman Reigns in the back of his steel chair. Sound familiar? At the Royal Rumble, and leading to all of this. Sami Zayn has been not only a comeback wrestler of the year, not necessarily in terms of an injury, but just the way he's progressed on the card in a year. But he has also been the MVP of the year, because if you are in the Bloodline with Roman Reigns, who has held the title almost 1,000 days, it'll be 1,000 days if he gets past WrestleMania, I'm sure, then you are the guy. And Roman Reigns is the guy right now. He's the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. He's doing all the media appearances. But this feels like Daniel Bryan in 2014. Going into WrestleMania 30, their idea was Randy Orton versus Batista for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Daniel Bryan was over. Daniel Bryan was getting chanted when he wasn't even in the ring, when he wasn't even the center of attention. And let's be honest, the fans booed Batista as he was getting prepared to come back. You know, they were airing vignettes for Batista, trying to get everyone excited. And then he wins the Royal Rumble and everyone boos because they wanted Daniel Bryan. Now, this is where the stories meet, right? This is where Sami Zayn, who was not the favorite to win the Royal Rumble, it was Cody Rhodes. They announced his return in advance. Sami Zayn was starting to get considered, hey, maybe they should take this hottest storyline in wrestling in some time and give him the main event at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. Like, the biggest story deserves the biggest stage. And Cody Rhodes wins, but Cody Rhodes doesn't get booed. And then everyone's clamoring, you got to keep them apart. Whatever you do, you have to keep Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, and then Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. You got to keep Cody and Sami apart. And they don't do that. If you watch this past Monday's Raw, there's a promo between Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. And everyone said, keep Cody and Sami apart. And Triple H didn't do that. Instead, Triple H is like, we'll put them in the ring together. We'll put them on the mic. And at the end of the day, Cody Rhodes is putting Sami Zayn over. Even more with the crowd. Cody's not getting booed. Sami's not getting booed, which shows you the fans are over with Sami Zayn. A. And B, the AEW fans that booed Cody Rhodes in his last 3 months with the company, these WWE fans don't seem to be turning on Cody Rhodes because he's not John Cena, but he's taken that role of putting guys over. John Cena was a guy who would help get Daniel Bryan over with the fans. And fans love that about John Cena. So the question is, how do you get to WrestleMania? Because the idea has been, well, after The Rock, of course, The Rock, Roman Reigns isn't happening. Cody wins the Rumble. Now the idea is Cody versus Roman. And it was going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos. I still think you could get there. I still think you could get to that tag team match and be okay. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the titles, childhood best friends, would be a good moment. Cody Rhodes dethrones Roman Reigns for the titles or a title. But this just starts to feel like the Usos versus Owens and Zayn is not going to be enough. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like fans want Cody versus Sami versus Roman. Now, I don't know who the fans would turn on, Sami or Cody. They might turn on Cody if it's a triple threat match. But at the end of the day, I think fans would like to see just Roman Reigns dethroned by either of them at WrestleMania, at the grandest stage of them all. So that leads us to this Saturday Elimination Chamber, Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And I'll be honest, in Montreal, me and my friend were talking about this earlier. Guys tend to lose in their hometowns. Sami Zayn tends to lose, in Montreal. Edge lost in Toronto. John Cena lost in Boston. Bret Hart lost Montreal Screwjob. So if I had to pick, it's going to be Roman Reigns. But it's going to be some sly way. Fans are not happy on Monday's Raw. And they're going to clamor for Sami Zayn to be inserted into WrestleMania. And you could even use the 2-night WrestleMania split up. Have Sami Zayn face Roman Reigns one night. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes the next. You could do a lot with this. And it could be worthy of what you do. So you got to keep an eye on that. But when we come back, we'll talk about the Elimination Chamber, the rest of it a little later on. But there's 2 guys who are rumored for WWE. Do they show up? We come back next on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. And just want to remind you that you can follow the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram at Drop the Mic Wrestling. We put in a lot of great content. And before we get into the Wrestling Elimination Chamber event, I want to talk about a couple guys who have been rumored for some time to return or debut in WWE. One of them Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder takes the fall to Tyrus in the NWA pay-per-view this past week. And his wife actually returned at the Royal Rumble. The Women's Royal Rumble happened after the men's. I'm sure they didn't debut them at the same time for a reason. A, they didn't want it to be obvious with one debuting over the other. Or B, they needed Matt Cardona to finish up his NWA duties. And it seems like he did that with putting Tyrus over in the main event for the NWA World's Heavyweight title, because where's Nick Aldis, right? Where's Nick Aldis? Nick Aldis rumored for WWE. Nick Aldis might go back to Impact with his wife, Mickie James. Mickie James may be on the way out of Impact Wrestling. Who knows at this point? Maybe Nick Aldis is just enjoying life. But don't expect to see Nick Aldis in NWA anytime soon. And Matt Cardona, after doing the deed to Tyrus in the NWA, could be moving back to WWE. Is this a wise move? Well, is it a wise move for a New Japan star? Because there was a Loser Leaves Japan match with rumors of both guys being looked at by WWE, Hikuleo and Jay White. Jay White being the Bullet Club leader for so long. And it turns out in the month, January, he loses the match. Of course, it's after the Royal Rumble. And I don't think Jay White has that credibility in the States yet to debut at the Royal Rumble and get a pop like an AJ Styles did. But to be fair, Jay White is Bullet Club. Bullet Club has had a lot of success in the States. There's been some New Japan American shows that have happened. He would be a big get. He's also wrestled on AEW with his buddies, the Elite. So when it comes down to it, are these good decisions for Jay White and Matt Cardona? And first, I want to say Matt Cardona is not Zack Ryder, because apparently to Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder is dead and would only return to WWE if he got to use the name Matt Cardona. Hashtag always ready with a Z. Matt Cardona, his original stint in WWE was with Kurt Hawkins, with Edge, as part of the Edge Heads, Hawkins and Ryder. And he kind of became a fan favorite once they split away from that. He had the same look as Edge, which made it work. But come on, like, you know, once he changed his whole look, Brian Myers, Kurt Hawkins didn't do that. Edge obviously kept the traditional Edge look. Zack Ryder was like, "Hey, I'm changing everything. I'm changing my hair. I'm changing everything but my name." And fans got behind it. He was part of the ECW rebrand. He would go woo 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 with the fist pumps. Woo woo woo. That was for our YouTube audience right there. And fans loved it. And he would do his internet series, the Long Island IZ story. It would get over. So he had very unique nuances that got over with the fans when he wasn't getting TV time. And it worked. So much so they won the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match at WrestleMania, dropped it the next night. But WWE wanted that pop for him. So with Matt Cardona leaving, reinventing himself, getting in probably the best shape of his life, doing all this action figure stuff. Again, another extracurricular activity that sets him apart from the rest. He's actually not my favorite wrestler, but he is an expert at marketing himself, rebranding himself. And it's something similar to Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes in WWE, very low mid-card guy, dashing Stardust, wasn't breaking through, leaves, reinvents himself, and is now coveted by WWE. Matt Cardona's done the same. And the only thing Matt Cardona didn't do is he didn't start a brand new wrestling company and try to rival the WWE. But he didn't need to. And I want to commend Matt Cardona on that. And the big thing is his wife is there now, Chelsea Green, starting this Karen character apparently in WWE, losing matches rather quickly, complaining to the general manager for unfair conditions. Kind of reminds me of Eva Marie, to be fair. I mean, if your goal is to be in WWE, if your goal is to be WWE champion one day, and you're seeing a guy like Cody Rhodes, who Matt Cardona is friends with, you see a guy like Cody Rhodes do this and reinvent himself, even went away and started a rival company to come back, and a year later main event your biggest show, WrestleMania. That says why not? That says why not me? And so I am expecting Matt Cardona not to show up at WrestleMania like Cody Rhodes did last year. I feel like the WrestleMania card is going to be stacked. It's going to be really hard to get on WrestleMania this year, especially with the talent that Triple H has acquired since his time back in WWE. But I feel like Raw after WrestleMania needs a Raw after WrestleMania type feel, a type of return, a type of debut. You're looking at Randy Orton. You're looking at AJ Styles. If neither of those are back before WrestleMania starts. But you have a guy, Matt Cardona, that you can plug in, attack Edge. Go attack Edge after WrestleMania. Edge and Finn Balor will hopefully be done after WrestleMania. And then, boom, you start a new rivalry for Matt Cardona. The story is there because Matt Cardona got his start in WWE with Edge, got labeled that for pretty much the rest of his career. And now he's coming back to rewrite his story right before Edge leaves. We never got Zack Ryder versus Edge. We never got that. And so now's an opportunity to write that story. So there it is. Matt Cardona appearing Raw after Mania, going up against Edge. Now you have Jay White. Jay White, completely different story. Never been WWE. Built his brand in the UK where he's from. Went to Japan and rebuilt his legacy there. Even had Ring of Honor stint where he was like just another guy. But once he rebranded himself as the Switchblade, Jay White, once he got in Bullet Club, once he became the leader of Bullet Club. Mind you, leaders of Bullet Club, you had Adam Cole for the ROH wing. You had AJ Styles. You had Kenny Omega. You had Finn Balor. All these guys have went on to major success in the U.S. Omega with AEW. You have AJ Styles, Finn Balor over in WWE. These guys have had major success because leading Bullet Club in Japan is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everyone. And those guys were able to carry that torch, carry that flag, and have made pretty good money for themselves. And so Jay White is at a crossroads because WWE, obviously, treating people well right now. We don't know the situation with Vince McMahon and the potential sale of WWE, which is a huge question mark for not only Jay White, Matt Cardona, but anyone else trying to sign on with WWE right now. That's a huge red flag. That's a huge question mark looming. But Jay White also has friends in AEW. He's wrestled in AEW a couple times, Forbidden Door. He knows the guys there. He's pretty close. So that could be a factor when determining where he goes. Honestly, I'm starting to feel like either place you could potentially get lost in the shuffle. WWE has acquired a lot of talent right now. AEW has a lot of talent, and where's Miro? That's the big question we've been asking for a year. We go a few weeks and we're like, we haven't seen this guy. We haven't seen that guy. Where are they? And that could happen to Jay White. Might not, because he is friends with the elite, and that's fair. So Jay White could also be the NXT guy. And I feel like that if he goes to AEW, we know what he is. He's going there with his buddies. He's going there with people with a similar route, and he'll be just fine. If he goes to WWE, I don't think he debuts on the main roster because Matt Cardona, boom, inserted in the main roster. NXT, you need some, let's be honest, you need some fresh blood. But you need some new guys who know what they're doing. Because if you look, NXT Vengeance Day, there was the New Day you had to pull from the main roster. Mandy Rose wasn't there. Main event was Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, Dijak Wesley. There was no name. There was no workhorse. You didn't have a guy who could go potentially 30, 45 minutes and steal the show. Jay White's that guy. And NXT takeovers had that with Johnny Gargano, Andrade, Adam Cole, Aleister Black, Sami Zayn, Neville, Samoa Joe, Drew McIntyre for a time. They had these guys that made you want to go watch NXT TakeOver. But now you just struggle in finding someone who can actually take on the burden of main event in an NXT pay-per-view, especially if you're wanting to travel. And so if Jay White goes to WWE, he's going to NXT. Matt Cardona, Raw after Mania. But I could also see Jay White appearing in AEW. But we have an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view this weekend. Who wins the Elimination Chamber match is women's and men's. We already covered the main event, but could there be a reunion happening after this weekend? We talk about this after the break on the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned right after the break. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis. And before we get in the Elimination Chamber, it is very with a sad heart that I mentioned that Jerry Jarrett passed away. The father of Jeff Jarrett helped big into territories as a legendary wrestling promoter. And Dutch Mantell, fans know as Zeb Coulter, announced this news, I believe, yesterday. And it's a very, very sad time. Jeff Jarrett met him. He was the one who handed me the NWA World's Heavyweight title at 6 years old in 2005. I've met Jeff Jarrett on several occasions, one of the nicer wrestling figures. And he and his son, Jerry Jarrett and Jeff, they did a father-son business in wrestling, which is so cool to see these days. Founded what's known now as TNA Impact Wrestling, and they did really good with it. So, condolences for Jerry Jarrett and his family. It stinks. And thank you for your contributions, Jerry, for everything you did for the business. And wrestling evolves from the territories. And wrestling evolved back in 2002 when the debut of the Elimination Chamber match happened. And Shawn Michaels won that, I believe, back at Survivor Series 2002. Won the World Heavyweight title. And now it's evolved into a pay-per-view that we get this weekend. And we have the Women's Elimination Chamber match for a Raw Women's Championship opportunity. Becky Lynch and Bayley, failed to enter this Elimination Chamber match this past Monday on Raw, losing Bianca Belair. Who knows what the plans are for Becky and Bayley? Maybe a rubber match at WrestleMania. Who knows? But the competitors are Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and Carmella. And looking at that on paper, it's like, okay, you stack this, but honestly could have been better with Becky or Bayley in this match. It's kind of pretty obvious. You know, you could have Raquel Rodriguez win it, go on to challenge Bianca Belair. They're pretty strong, but I don't know if the match is strong enough. Carmella, no. Natalya, no. Please, no. Please, no. No disrespect to Natalya, but her time as main event in WrestleMania has come and passed. Nikki Cross, crazy wild card. Liv Morgan had her push last year. Once Asuka returned at the Royal Rumble, that was the girl. That was your winner. And especially with Rhea Ripley challenging SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, Asuka versus Bianca Belair seems to be the right move. Asuka, legitimate challenger, legitimate threat to Bianca Belair and her Raw Women's Championship. And then you have divvying off of that, Rhea Ripley is going to team with Finn Balor with Judgment Day to face Edge and Beth Phoenix in a mixed tag team match. Rhea and Finn obviously get the win here. That's what I'm thinking. You can't have the number one contender lose a match. It is in a mixed tag team match, so you could protect Rhea Ripley at this moment. Have Edge pin Finn Balor. Heck, have Beth Phoenix pin Finn Balor. You could do that. But I feel like if Judgment Day wins this, probably with help from Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio at ringside, they could set up perfectly Finn Balor, Edge, Hell in a Cell match that was apparently supposed to happen last month at Royal Rumble could happen instead at WrestleMania. Edge versus Finn Balor close the chapter on Edge Judgment Day. That's taken a year to write in the storyline, which this is long-term storytelling, I guess. But expect Edge and Beth Phoenix to lose to the Judgment Day, putting those guys over. And when it comes to factions, here's what I'm excited for, because I believe there is a reunion happening. Brock Lesnar wrestles Bobby Lashley this Saturday at the Elimination Chamber, and they have teased this for so long. I take you back to Bray Wyatt and all the little nuances right before he returned, even after he returned. People arguing in the backstage area, QR codes, little props that remind you of Bray Wyatt. And then all of a sudden, what you have going is hints about the Hurt Business reuniting. You had Bobby Lashley fired, but then it became a suspension. Who knows what happened there? You had Bobby Lashley talking to MVP. You had MVP talking to Adam Pearce on Bobby Lashley's behalf. And then over several weeks, we've seen MVP talk to Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin in the background of an interview, which you never see because interviews are usually put in front of a curtain, in front of the logo, the monitor, and you just don't think anything about it. But there's random backstage interviews. Shelton, Cedric, MVP talking. Shelton and Cedric picked up a tag team win a couple weeks ago on Raw. That it's leading up to something. And then this past Monday on Raw, the contract signing. Brock Lesnar in the ring waiting. Bobby Lashley comes out, has his own table set up, lures Brock Lesnar in and attacks him, lays him out. Bobby saying that he was advised by his agents. He was advised by his friends. He was advised by his manager. It's got to be. It's got to be MVP. It's got to be the Hurt Business. How else does Bobby Lashley overcome Brock Lesnar? And this is perfect because we have been wanting the Hurt Business to return for a long, long, long time. It's perfect. It's genuine. It's awesome. I love it. And let's be honest, this is good stuff. I'm super, super excited for what's to come. And if the Hurt Business returns, Bobby Lashley goes over on Brock Lesnar with help, and we get a rematch at WrestleMania, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar. And that's why I think they didn't save this for WrestleMania, because if you didn't save it for WrestleMania, like this has to be the Hurt Business reunion, add in another layer to this. Which brings us to the main event, the Elimination Chamber match. Seth freaking Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Montez Ford, all vying to become the new United States champion, with Austin Theory holding the belt. Austin Theory, remind you, I believe it was last year's Elimination Chamber, gets thrown off the pod in F5 by Brock Lesnar. Last guy standing, actually last guy falling to the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. And now he's entering as champion, United States champion. I mean, we'll say that. But it has been the title on Monday Night Raw. And guys like Seth Rollins, those guys have vied for it. But you're going to get a pretty great match. Austin Theory's not at that caliber yet of putting on a 5-star match, but you got Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, probably two guys who will be in the whole time and can just go crazy. You got Bronson Reed, who's the X Factor. You're trying to introduce him to a new audience who didn't see his work in NXT, didn't see his work in Japan. You're bringing him in. This is a perfect match to introduce and highlight some of the stuff he does. Damian Priest, incredible. I love Damian Priest. He is that guy who could have chemistry with Bronson Reed in this Elimination Chamber, and he has went to a whole other level since being part of Judgment Day last year. And then Montez Ford. This is the guy that you're testing out, right? This chamber isn't about Seth Rollins or Johnny Gargano or Damian Priest. This match is about Bronson Reed being introduced and Montez Ford showing, okay, what do you got? Can you be a standoff singles guy, or do you need to stay with the Street Profits a little longer? This is your moment. Can Montez Ford create a moment in the Elimination Chamber as a spot monkey? Maybe a frog splash off the top of the pod. We've seen that before. What could he do to stand out in this match? And he's got all the charisma in the world. How do you fare in singles action? And you're not putting him in a singles match to test that. You're putting him in a multi-man Elimination Chamber match where his creativity and athleticism can be highlighted. But with all that said, your winner is Austin Theory because of the rumors of Austin Theory versus John Cena at WrestleMania. If that happens, if that's truly in the works, you got to keep Austin Theory. Got to keep Austin Theory with the United States Championship, and you're good. And Austin Theory, John Cena, that's a childhood match, dream of Austin Theory, and it's super exciting. But we got to get out of here. We got the rest of the Wrestling Wednesday lineup on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, and we got the Elimination Chamber this weekend. So everyone, have a great weekend. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify, and we will see you next week. Tune to Out Pocket with Michael Davis Friday at 4 for some wrestling, football, basketball talk, and we will see you next week.